If you run a home care agency, I believe you already know this. Scheduling is not just a task. It can actually take over your entire day if you let it. Some days, everything feels under control. Your shifts are covered, your caregivers are in place, and you finally feel like, whew, you can breathe. Then one caregiver calls off, and suddenly everything starts to unravel. Now the phone is ringing, families are calling, your scheduler is trying to fix things, and before you know it, your entire day has shifted into crisis mode. And you're left wondering, why does this keep happening? But here's the truth. Scheduling chaos is not random, it's predictable. And once you understand what's really driving it, you can actually get ahead of it. So let me take you back to the early days for us, before we were able to afford a scheduling software, which actually made life easier, so much easier for us. Back then, everything was manual. We had to give caregiver directions, clients details over the phone, or good old Excel spreadsheets. I remember I was working late one evening and I thought, this is it. I'm done. Everything is verified. Everybody's shift confirmed. And then the phone rang. Somebody called out, right? So after spending a lot of time trying to find a good match, a substitute caregiver for this client, I got this one caregiver who is very good caregiver, but I quickly remember she had a hard time with directions. So I said, okay, Joan, slow down, take it easy. I went line by line, making sure that she was repeating after me, the client's address and all of the details. But then I said, okay, let me just be sure you got everything right. I said, okay, can you just repeat the address to me? And she said, I'm sorry, Joan, my pen wasn't writing. I took a deep pause and I felt like just exploding. But I said, okay, this is a great caregiver. She'll be the perfect match for this lady. Let me just take it easy. So that's one lesson, right? And what's the lesson? You can't assume. You have to trust but verify. If I hadn't taken the moment to say, oh, let me just make sure that the caregiver understood, got everything I had given them, we would have been in another situation the following morning, right? Because, of course, she may have called and said last minute that she didn't get the address and so forth. Then the client would have been left without care for some time while we struggled to fix the situation. That could have been avoided. That moment taught me something I'll never forget. Scheduling is not just about filling shifts. It's about making sure the system actually works. What is your system for scheduling from start to, start of care to after hours care? What is your system? What do you have in place? And what are your checks and balances? Are you just, nowadays, I believe many home care owners have a scheduling software that they use, which makes it easier, but you still have to verify. That's where your scheduler comes in, or your care coordinator, as some offices call them, comes in to make sure that, yes, they could access that information online on their app, but did they understand? Did they know what time they have to be there? Do they understand the care plan? Do they know the, special instructions for the client they're going to be taking care of? Powerful lesson. So yeah, lessons learned, but that's not just all. Yes, we have to learn, but yes, something I would like you to really consider. And this is what I'm trying to drive during this talk with you all today. I want you to make a shift. Scheduling is not just about who is going where, it's about systems, communication, and accountability. When those are strong, scheduling becomes manageable. But when they're not, everything feels like chaos. So why does your scheduling feel like chaotic? Feels chaotic? Most agency owners assume scheduling chaos is due to the caregivers or the scheduler's fault, or if you call them care coordinators, that is due to their fault. While that may be true in some instances, it's not always the case. In the example, the situation I shared with you earlier, I was the scheduler and I was making sure that I gave the caregiver every detail that they needed to do an excellent job for the case they were going to fill in the next day. But the caregiver, for some reason, was not taking down the information as I thought they were. So it's not always the caregiver's fault, right? Let's look at some instances or some scenarios where there are other reasons or other situations that may lead to your scheduling feeling like it's chaos all the time. In most cases, scheduling challenges start earlier during hiring, onboarding, or even how care plans are written. We call our case management team the kitchen because it's always busy. Orders are coming in, cases, things are happening, change. There are so many changes sometimes, starts of care, cancellations, you name it. So there's always something going on there. But the challenges can be mitigated with the right hire, with the right onboarding. When I say onboarding, I'm talking about your orientation, your training, the care plan being correct. If you are in a licensed stage, you may have a nurse do your care plan. If you're not, maybe someone in your office or yourself doing your care plan, making sure that you get all the pertinent information for the client. Now, you may be wondering, well, how does the care plan affect scheduling? Think about it. If your caregiver doesn't understand the care plan or the care plan doesn't capture the fact that the client has pets in their homes, the caregiver shows up and the dog starts barking, guess what? They'll call the office and say, sorry, you can't stay. So that's what I'm referring to, your care plan being correct. Also, when the caregiver is being assigned the case, right? And that's where we refer to matching the caregiver and the client. I'm going to touch on that in a little bit here. But the point is, your scheduling challenges don't start with the scheduler. Sometimes, and many times, is with the hiring. Are we hiring the right caregivers? Are they dependable? Are they trustworthy? Do they understand directions easily? During orientation, are we making sure that we're working with them, see how they interact with our clients, see how they interact with the office staff, their comprehension level, all of that? Okay. So while your scheduler or your care coordinator sits in the middle of everything, they are matching caregivers to clients, they are communicating with families and adjusting schedules in real time. Just remember, they are not miracle workers. If your caregivers are unreliable or your communication is inconsistent, your scheduling team will constantly feel overwhelmed because they are trying to fix problems they didn't create. So strong scheduling starts with a strong foundation, all right, in the hiring and onboarding and so forth. I remember another situation where a caregiver showed up late and the family was upset, rightfully so. At first, it looked like the caregiver dropped the ball, but when we looked into it, we realized the client's address had been updated and that information wasn't clearly communicated to the caregiver. So now you have a frustrated family, a stressed caregiver, and an overwhelmed scheduler trying to fix it in real time. And all of that from one miscommunication. That's why I always say communicate, document. Everyone involved, the caregiver, the client, and the scheduler must be on the same page. Okay, let's talk about matching caregivers to clients. One of the most powerful ways to reduce scheduling chaos is to match caregivers properly from the beginning. And I don't just mean based on their availability. No, you have to look at their personality, their skill level, their preferences, and even their location, right? Because if it's too far, they may call last minute and say they're not going. We had a caregiver we recently celebrated for working with us for 20 years. Yes. I remember going over to deliver her award, and what she said was she had stayed with the company, with our company, because she felt valued, because she felt like we always sent her to the right client. She had consistency, she felt part of something. When you get the match right, you don't just feel a shift, you build stability into your schedule. Okay. So let's talk about this reality, handling call-offs real time. You don't have to panic. One of the best things you can do is build a reliable backup list. These are caregivers who are flexible and open to picking up available shifts on short notice. You may also want to think about incentivizing caregivers who help you, when you're in dire straits. It may be a gift card, it may be a mileage, gas card. just to say thank you. Not every time, but enough to motivate them, to incentivize them, right? Hey, if you can do it every time, why not? It creates a culture of appreciation, of people feeling valued. Okay. You also want to be very proactive with your scheduling. This is where you move from being reactive to proactive. For your ongoing clients, aim to schedule 3 to 6 months ahead whenever possible. I know things may happen, but whenever possible, try to do that. This creates consistency and reduces the daily pressure on your team. Another key strategy is to keep your schedule covered at least 2 weeks out. So make sure you're staffing at least 2 weeks out. If someone's taking a last minute case, that's understandable. But at least 2 weeks out so that you are not like the day before always trying to schedule for the next day. Okay, try to schedule at least 2 weeks out. That's going to help relieve pressure, not just on your care coordinators, but at least your caregivers. You're not calling them last minute every time to say, hey, can you help me here and there? You also have to plan for turnover. In home care, turnover can be very high. In fact, it's about 70 to 80% currently. The key is to build your system with that in mind so you're not caught off guard. Plan for your holiday coverage as well, months in advance, by identifying caregivers who are available early enough, and then you create a small pool of those caregivers to be able to help during the holidays. Because as we know, some clients can feel very lonely during holidays, especially if they don't have family members around, like Thanksgiving, the major holidays. And if your caregiver doesn't show up, that may be really devastating to your client. So plan ahead. Make sure you have a pool of caregivers who can fill in for those holidays. I also want to touch on this, planning for inclement weather. But before I do that, don't forget to incentivize with holiday coverage also, right? You may pay a little bit more to incentivize caregivers to pick up those shifts during holidays. Now, back to weather issues. You want to plan ahead also. If you get a weather forecast that you're going to have a tornado in a day or 2 days or 3 days, usually get those warnings ahead unless it's something act of nature we cannot control. Try to plan ahead and make sure that you have caregivers who are close by your priority clients. Those are clients that, when I say priority, I mean top priority. You cannot leave them alone. We try to prioritize them based on their needs, our clients based on their needs. If someone cannot be left alone, that's priority one. We have to make sure that no matter what, they get coverage. If it means somebody has to stay the night before, so they don't have to travel in inclement weather to go take care of that client, we'll make those arrangements, right? So it's looking out for your clients and looking out for your caregiver so that you don't have to deal with last minute call outs. Okay. Having said all of that, technology has actually made scheduling much easier. Caregivers can access client details, get directions, and receive updates in real time. But technology only works if you have processes in place. It supports your system. It does not replace it. If you want fewer scheduling issues, take care of your caregivers. They want consistent hours, the fair schedules, and predictability. When they feel valued, they show up. When they don't, that's when those call-ups come in and your turnover increases. So when you look at it from a higher level, scheduling chaos is not just about schedules. It's about hiring. It's about communication. It's about having systems in place. It's about leadership also, right? How you plan in advance. When you strengthen these areas, things will begin to stabilize for you. All right. So let me ask you this. What's the craziest scheduling situation you've ever dealt with? Have you ever had a moment where one small mistake almost turned into a big problem? Or maybe you had to go fill in the shift? Drop your comments below. Let's learn from each other. All right. If scheduling feels like it's running your life right now, if every day feels reactive instead of structured, it doesn't have to stay that way. Go ahead and book a free 30-minute strategy call with us. We'll look at your current scheduling system, identify where the breakdowns are happening, and help you create a simple, scalable structure your team can rely on and can actually follow. Because at the end of the day, your caregivers deserve consistency. Your clients deserve reliable care. And you deserve a business that runs without daily chaos. Okay? And if you want to hear real stories from agency owners navigating these same challenges, check out our podcast, the Home Care Millionaire Podcast on YouTube. Let's strong together. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to share with others. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you'll be notified when we have other powerful videos, powerful content, strategies, and tips to help you run a successful and profitable home care agency.